Helen, it's great to have Jypsy Rose with us
It
tonight.
is. We are so glad you're here.
I started communicating with her a few months ago, and
Actually, it was a little over a year ago. And
well, the first time, yeah.
I got really busy in the music, and then couldn't get back to you. And then I sent you some emails, and I never wondered, I wondered if I had ever really reached you. And so then about a few months ago, I was like, I need to ask him if he even got those emails.
And we got back in touch with each other, and we got her scheduled for tonight. I'm so glad she's here. She's got an interesting thing going on. I mean, her musical vibe is really cool. Voice is fantastic. Songs are good, and man, she can just nail these songs. I mean, that's just the way it is. If you guys are starting with the interview and you haven't heard her song set yet, take a listen to it. It'll be on YouTube. And it's available also over on Facebook, but YouTube's one to listen to.
And it's also at www.inthemusicroom, and your name, Jypsy Rose, will be there. And
it's
you
with
will
a
have
J,
your
too,
own
though.
page with your music and your pictures. It's going to be awesome.
And with Jypsy with a J.
I know.
Jypsy.
I know. That's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Texas City, Texas, and mostly raised there. Of course, I have tons of family. My maiden name was Julie Wager. Rose is a family middle name. So I am related to all of the Wagers in this area from Athens. My dad was raised in Athens to, the other side, Granbury and Terrell and all surrounding Dallas area. We have a lot of Wagers around here. So coming up here is kind of refreshing. I get to see some old relatives that I hadn't seen since Granny passed away. So, kind of nice. They wanted to know where they can buy tickets for In the Music Room whenever I am on the show next time.
Well,
Because they'd like to come out.
just contact me. You can find me on Facebook, and we'll take it from there.
Okay.
And the tickets are just reservations, so people just need to call me and make reservations.
No ticket price. We just have everybody tip the artists as much as they possibly can and buy CDs.
And it works out.
Yeah.
It works out rather well.
I think they would really enjoy that.
So where'd you go to high school?
I actually started elementary school in Texas City and then migrated to Mont Belvieu. And I graduated high school in Mont Belvieu as a Barbers Hill Eagle. So, and then I ended up buying property in Lake Livingston, which is a little bit more north of that. So I'm located outside the northeast side of Houston. I need to push that button on there if you wouldn't mind pushing it.
Just hand it to you.
Yeah, it's silent otherwise.
I'm kind of one of those people that doesn't usually like to mess with the woman's stuff.
Sorry, this is...
Yeah, you do.
That was...
Well, maybe their stuff, but not their stuff.
It's on mute, except for that
The
was
alarm.
the alarm clock for my son to take his medication.
Oh, okay. I was hoping it wasn't another weather one. We had those for the last 2 weeks.
we had those last night.
Yeah.
So now you're in Lake Livingston area.
Houston, outside Houston area.
So what got you into music? At what point in time did you step in and realize you had this voice and musical ability?
Well, it started when I was 11 years old, and we moved to Mont Belvieu from Texas City. And my mom got married to my stepfather, and he had a band. He had a bar band, and he would invite them over once a week. And he had this really big 500-pound black guy named Detar that was the frontliner for the band, and he sang soul. I mean, he could just go, and it was just wonderful listening to him. So we would go into the band room, and my stepdad would go, get out, we're practicing. So I would hide behind the 500-pound black guy. I would sit Indian style on the floor behind him so that his shadow would cover me, and stepdaddy wouldn't see me in there. But every time he sang, I had this inspiration to sing behind him. So he heard this little mousy voice behind him, and he would turn around and he'd go, oh, you singing? So my stepdad said, tell him to get out. And he said, no, she want to sing? We gonna do this. So I looked at him like, okay, what do I do? So he said, I'm going to sing this, my girl. And you're going to sing background with me. And I'm like, oh, cool. I get to sing my girl.
And how old were you?
I was 11.
Okay.
And he goes, no, 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 honey. You ain't going to sing my girl. I'm going to sing my girl. I'm going to go, my girl. And you're going to sing, ooh. And I looked at him like, what? That's not in the song. And he's like, you're just going to sing 2 notes. You're going to go, ooh. And it taught me pitch because he made me hold those 2 notes. It was my very, very first lesson in singing is to hold 2 notes in my girl, and that's it. And he said if I do a really good job, then he would give me another song. So eventually my stepdad learned that me and my sister had an aptitude for singing, and he quit the bar band entirely. And then he started just a vocal band with me and my sisters and my brother. Well, not my brother yet. He wasn't old enough. But my brother also ended up having an aptitude for music. But we would sing together with Mom and Dad. He'd play the organ and the keyboard and backing tracks behind us. And we did, religious functions, anniversaries, weddings, that sort of thing. So that graduations, stuff that, family oriented. So we sang a very variety of oldies and love songs and stuff like that.
And how much did church take part in your vocals?
It really didn't. I sang private functions outside. It was a religious event, private functions outside. It never ended up I never ended up actually singing, in the church publicly. Like, maybe when they do hymnals, you sit there and sing quietly,
right.
And then I did have this elderly man that was cousins to Leanne Rimes that would sit right in front of me every time in church because he said that I was his songbird, and that I reminded him of his cousin, and that he was going to make sure that I kept him on key.
So you were singing louder than you thought.
Yeah. So obviously, yes. And at first it was annoying as heck because my sister and I guess, were in a competition to see who could sing louder. And my mom was like, oh, I wish you would please shut up. But once our voices started to develop, and my sister's actually developed before mine did, and I still had a peepee little voice. So they gave me songs like, I will follow him wherever he may go. Yeah. And she got Patsy Cline, crazy. I'm crazy for feeling so alone. And I was like, oh, I'm so jealous. But she got the front line and I got the background. But that taught me how to learn harmonies, which she never really got to learn. She didn't get that chance to learn that because she would get the deeper songs and I would get the background. And so I pushed myself because I felt like the only way that I was actually going to stand out in our little vocal family band is if I could do something different than my sister. So I pushed myself to sing higher than her and sing lower than her and roll my notes and flip them around so that, she was singing these really, deep songs and lines. I was just contributing to her singing, but I had my own flair. Yeah. And it worked because everybody thought we sounded elegantly wonderful together. Still do whenever she gets the urge to sing with me once in a while.
Yeah. Well, something about family harmony, that can't be beat.
Where is she now?
She lives in Granbury.
Okay.
She owns a dog grooming business there called Doggy Doos, and she pretty much has decided to take on that responsibility rather than travel as a musician, although her heart still longs to do that sometimes. So if I can convince her, maybe she'll come out on a tour with me for a couple of weeks one time. Just depends on what her business is doing, I guess.
Well, when you're in business, that always has something to do with it,
Yes.
Now I know you had mentioned earlier in conversation that you had been to Nashville and that was quite an experience for you. Why don't you share that with us?
Oh, now see, I recorded with Jeff Huskins from the Little Texas Band, and the best experience in music that you just won't forget it is when we parked in Music Row, and we looked next door and there was RCA Records, and we looked across the street and there was Sony Records, and we looked behind and it was another record, and they're going, oh my gosh, there's all the big names right there. And I'm going into this building that says Black River, and it's that song that Midland wrote, or that Midland sang and made popular, #1 hit, Drinking Problem, was produced by this label. And so Jeff Huskins rents a room in that studio, so it's got everything in there. And when you walk into the first room, it's a kitchen and it's a little resting area, and so you don't really get the feel of it until you walk into the studio room, and then all of a sudden there is this aura, and you feel it, and you know that music lives here. And it was the room that Ronnie Millsap had rented for many, many years. And it was the room that Roy Orbison had called his own room for many, many years. And it was the room that a lot of the Garth Brooks #1 hit CDs was recorded in over many, many years. And it's got the original RCA dog, 3 foot by 3 foot, embedded in the wall in glass for everybody to see as a display. And you're going, oh my gosh, am I really here? Yeah. Because you can feel it.
The
it's
ghosts.
Just a feel, yes. And it was just amazing recording with these guys. He rushed in all these guys from all over the world. The drummer was from Egypt, and they're just the top of the line Nashville drummers. I mean, musicians that were amazing, and they're telling me their names one by one, and I can't tell you all of their names right off, but I can tell you I got all of their autographs because I'd heard all of their names before.
Yeah.
And I'm going, oh my gosh, they're on my CD.
Yeah.
And then Jeff Huskins, lays my songs out for them and tells them, and then I said, well, okay, I kind of want this one to have this kind of feel, but not Chris Stapleton all the way, but like this way. And they're like, I got it immediately. And in their mind, they do got it. And then when they start playing it, it's like, wow, they got it that quick. Like, I was able to communicate with them, and boom, it is. You know,
having the right people.
Yes, it was amazing. And then, on one song, I'm like, I love that tune that you're playing, but can you play it in a higher register, on that part? And he just like does the same thing. I was like, oh, he got it. And you know how many times I have spent in studios. Like, I recorded in Sugar Hill. I recorded in 713 Studio in Houston. I recorded in Stormy Cooper Media. And all of them are kind of good, high class. They're good places to record. And I recorded in Edgewater, and I recorded in Blackbeard Studio, and I all these places that I recorded, and I couldn't get it right. Like, I would take my project and take it to the next place and try to get it right. And Stormy Cooper Media came like the closest because Andy Bradley moved out of Sugar Hill, as you know, and he had been there like for forever and a day. And he started working for Mickey Gilley. They have like a little thing going on now where they have their own studio. And so, I couldn't get into that studio because it was more of a private Mickey Gilley kind of studio at the moment. And Stormy Cooper is like the bass player for Roger Krager. So he had the best equipment, best communication skills that I had dealt with so far. But when I went to Nashville, it only took 2 hours for these guys to have all 4 of my songs recorded. Mm-hmm. And then the next day it only took 2 hours to have all of the vocals recorded, and we were done. Cool. And we were over with done. And I was just and all that it took from that point was mixing and producing, which hasn't been finished yet. So I was just amazed, and I was like, this is the Nashville experience. But, it cost a lot of money to go to Nashville. It does cost a lot of money to record in Nashville, and I spent out the wazoo. But at the time, I had a sponsor that felt like it was extremely important for me to have that experience, whether even if I record somewhere else in the future, they wanted me to have that experience. So they fronted that thousands of dollars.
So when does that CD come out?
I don't know yet. The reason is because Jeff Huskins and I have a difficulty in communication, I guess, and he doesn't spend a lot of time on me compared to probably somebody that's with the label. So
Tell him to send me the tracks. I'll mix them for you.
So I just need to get them out of there. And it was mentioned that he had already given them to me, but I tried to remind him that he hadn't given them to me. So if he's thinking he did, then
I'll be glad to help you do that if you get him to send the tracks.
Yeah. Cool. And so so that's really all I'm really waiting on, and I'm figuring that if it's so hard to get a hold of him that I may just have to go knock on his door, maybe that's the issue, is that he's just so busy that he has to make time,
Well, also, if he doesn't have time to do it and you need the project done, get somebody else to mix it.
Yeah.
You've already got the recording done, right?
Yes.
So the production's done.
Right.
Right now, it's the mix and the mastering.
Well, the production of it is the mixing and the mastering, because the recording is just the recording, and the part that I'm paying for from Jeff is for him to actually put his print on it
To mix and master.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the part that I am waiting on, if he can get to me. So, and then nothing. I mean, it'll take me 4 weeks, maybe 6, to do a proper release, and I would have all 4 songs released and have my first EP out.
Cool.
So
very cool. Well, I understand that you have one amateur release on Spotify already.
I do. It's a cute little song called Love Everybody, and we sort of did it acoustically out of a little bitty studio right there in Lake Livingston. And it's kind of funny because the guy shares his studio room with his family business, which is testing for drugs.
Drug testing.
Yes,
and music.
so I rolled the whole band up there.
I thought you were going to say I rolled a joint.
But I rolled the whole band up there to this building, and the sign is drug testing. And they're looking at me like, Gypsy.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, are you going to test us all for drugs? And I'm like, no, the studio is really in there. It's in the back, but it's in there.
Keeps people away.
That's a well-kept secret, isn't it?
Right. Yes. So it was a funny experience, but the fellow that did all of our recording for that was really, really fun, and the song comes off really natural, like it's cute and natural, and when you hear the ending, you just got to go, man, that's cute. I want to listen to that again, and it just came off so natural, and it's not like the best recording in the world, like and I would like to get those tracks from him and maybe have you mix those, because we didn't really mix them. We just put them on and and that was the first release.
Let me know.
Yeah.
You know how to reach me, dude.
Yes.
Now, you normally play around the Houston area since you're geographically closer to there, I take it. And
yes.
You have a band.
Yes.
Tell us about your band and all that.
Well, I have these 2 fellas in the rhythm section that have known each other since they were 12. So they have been working
Are they
together.
older than 15 now?
They are really, they're more ancient than 15. We won't say how old they are. But it turns out that the bass player I might actually be related to, because we've been doing some soul searching, and I found out that I had gypsy blood on my dad's side of the family and the women's side of my dad's side of the family, and he has some of the same names in his ancestry that I do, and he grew up Romney Child, and then I was able to trace ours back to Romani, which is not Romney Child, but it's still gypsy. They're gypsy heritage.
And our family was Rominger.
Yeah.
From that same area of Transylvania,
Yes,
part of Germany area. That's where my family traces back to as well.
And the Wager name was Vraker when they came over from Germany to reside here. So we're all from that area, and not even a lot of my family members knows that they're gypsies, but we're all gypsies. And I used to, funny thing is that I'd tell people, no, I'm not gypsy, because I had somebody come up to me in a gig and they said, oh, well, your name is Gypsy. What, should I be afraid that you're going to, pickpocket me or something? And I looked at her and I said, it's just a name.
Should have said, I already have. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for the tip.
I know. I said,
Nice pictures of the kids.
Yeah, and I was like, oh man, is that giving me a reputation or something? But I thought, at the time I thought, no, I'm German. I'm not Gypsy.
Most of the gypsies, Hitler wiped out most of the gypsies.
I know, and I had
too,
no idea.
As well as
I was telling people, no, I'm not a real gypsy, and then all of a sudden, I started doing some research, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a real gypsy. I've been lying. And so he is too, but he's grew up that way, and he knows all the gypsy phrases and some of the gypsy spells, and he grew up that way. So he's been teaching me a lot about our heritage, and he's my bass player, and the great thing is that he played for Gene Watson for years, and
talented man.
Yes, and he played on the Grand Ole Opry, and he's an amazing musician. He plays more than a bass. Everybody sticks him on a bass, but he plays many more instruments than bass. He originally was playing drums, and he plays keys, and he plays guitar, and he's an amazing musician and singer. And then he grew up with this guy that plays drums, and they have a tight rhythm section. Now all we are looking for is a lead guitar player, and we'll have it made. My current lead guitar player, she comes in as a temp. She's great too. She plays a guitar from Buck Owens because she was friends with Buck Owens, and so she brings out this Buck Owens guitar that's worth thousands, And I'm going,
the red, white, and blue one.
Yes. And she's just a
He's from
amazing
Sherman.
Talent. But
Buck
she
is.
does not want to travel like the rest of us gypsies do. And and she also thinks that, she said she wouldn't at all have her feelings hurt if I found another guitar player that fit my style better, because she feels like she's more old-time country. And so, we've been looking for a guitar player that does that. Of course, she'll fill in anytime.
So the people listening to this, hey guys, pay attention. Girls too.
I know that a lot of your songs that you've written are about pain and suffering, and why do you go that route? Is it from experience, or?
I have had a lot of it. My dad died when I was young. I was just barely an adult when my dad died, so my sister and I both lost our dad. My stepdad was a good dad, but I lost him when my mom divorced him because he just grew apart. And then my auntie and my dad were my only music supporters. My mom is a very tough woman, and she, for the longest time, was opposite of a supporter. She would tell me and my sister not to waste our time, get our heads out of the clouds, get a real job. And it's only been recently from my personal success that she's helped, been a little bit more of a support, but she's still a very silent support. And so it's been very difficult because my dad was a full supporter, and my auntie, my mom's sister, was a full supporter, and they both died. But one thing my dad did to support us is when we were little girls and we would ride back and forth from mom's to dad's house, it was a good hour drive during visitation weekend, and he had a 57 Chevy, and he would tell us that the radio in the 57 Chevy did not work, so we would have to sing the whole way. So me and my sister would get to singing, and one of the songs that he loved and requested every time was, "There's a tree out in the backyard," and I would sing the harmonies behind my sister. And he would request it every time. And then all of a sudden, one day, we were at my older sister's house, which is much older than us, down in the Alvin area. And we were playing around in that 57 car, acting like we were trying to drive it. And my sister was tickling me, and one of us bumped our shoulder up against the radio. And the knob just came on just like that, and the radio started blaring. And I knew right then that my dad had been lying for years that radio didn't work. And then
maybe that bump got it working. Who knows?
Well, after that, even my daddy would still tell us that the radio didn't work. He couldn't get it to work. He didn't know what we did, but he couldn't get it to work. We had to sing. And we would sing for an hour there and an hour back every time Daddy would come and get us. And that was sort of his way of supporting us, you know. And then my
it's
auntie,
also getting you to sing, just getting you to sing.
Yeah, just getting us to sing, yeah. And my auntie, she supported us. Of course, she was in love with my sister's voice because my sister could sing some Patsy Cline like you wouldn't believe. She has this really bottom-end voice, and mine's a little bit higher than hers. But she just loved my sister's voice, and she would have me sing Dolly Parton because that's her favorite, and she'd have Christina sing Patsy Cline, and she took us on trips just to get us to sing, you know. So with both of our supporters being gone, my last supporter was my oldest baby girl. My oldest baby girl was diagnosed 1.5 years with Morquio disorder, which is a genetic disorder where deposits are made on our normal bones, and we have an enzyme that comes and cleans those off, and then we grow at a regular rate. She does not have that enzyme, so her deposits on her bones would make her bones bond together and grip together so that when her heart and her lungs would grow normal underneath, her skeletal structure would stay small. So a side effect was dwarfism. And she had a little people's voice. But Mom, I just want you to sing that song, you know?
Yeah.
And when she was 9 years old, she had to have a little people's surgery where the back of her neck was, you know, kinked, and she would have to pull some of the bone off of the skull and some of the bone off of the spine for the nerves to fit through, for the spinal cord to fit.
Wow.
And when she had that surgery done at 9 years old, propofol was too much, and it killed her liver. And she died in the best hospital in the world, in Houston. And then I had 2 more kids, and they didn't seem to have any signs of that syndrome. But they remembered when my oldest daughter would make me sing bedtime songs to them every night. She made me sing every night, and she made me sing all the time otherwise ever since she was 2. And when she was on her deathbed, pretty much in the hospital bed, she made me sing. That's all she wanted me to do. And she told me to play the radio and sing, or just sing, because you should be on the radio, Mom. Why aren't you on the radio? And so after she died, 2 years later, my relationship with my longtime husband was over. And I had 3 kids from that relationship. And the 2 middle children didn't show any signs of having the genetic disorder, but the 4th child did. And he was the male version spitting image of my daughter.
Oh, wow.
And he's very musically inclined and promotes me to sing all the time. And somewhere along that lines, I knew that my kids believing me enough to where I needed to be on the radio. So whenever I delved into a new relationship, I immediately told him right off the bat that this was the career that I was going for. Doesn't matter that I have a legal degree and I can make a whole lot more money as a paralegal somewhere, you know, but I just need to be in music. And whoever decides to be in a relationship with me have to be a full supporter of that. And so my second relationship looked promising, but it didn't turn out. And so now I am a single mom, although I do have a boyfriend, and he did come from Montana to Texas to be with me. But I own my property as a single mom in Livingston so that I have the freedom to
make decisions.
Yeah. And to be in the music business. And it helps me quite a bit to be a self-sufficient woman in order to to do what I need to do so that I don't have anything hanging over my head. And my kids help me out, and it seems like lately that we're turning in our 5 acres into an RV park.
Hey, that's one way to generate some income. It's good income, actually.
Or get the kids nearby, either one.
Yeah. So it's slowly working its way out. Everything permitted. Everything's working out,
Yeah.
And so that's what happened with my music career. I did nothing until 2013 when I started trying out for any karaoke competition. I played nothing. Any karaoke competition I could get my hands on, because I met Rick Trevino, and his words to me were, treat it like it's a job if that's what you want it to be, your job, and get yourself out there full time. Mm-hmm. And then introduce yourself personally to the audience, and you'll figure out what your next step is. And he was right. Almost immediately I figured out I needed a band.
Well, you know what? You really don't. As a singer-songwriter, and the majority of the singer-songwriters that come in either play by themselves, or they've got a really good side person that's playing lead and playing guitar while they can sing.
And ideally, you find that other person is also a songwriter.
Well, see,
where you're give and take.
Well, see, my path was a little different because I didn't play a single instrument, so I didn't know really, other than my voice, how to communicate with anyone.
That's your instrument, honey.
Yeah. So having a band, I was sort of able to communicate better, because then I could go, okay, just do this tick, 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 and then from that tick, then you can figure out what kind of genre or what kind of feel that it should have, and play the notes, follow my voice, and so then they would play the notes follow my voice, and I would say, seems like something needs to, and I knew some phrases in music, like, seems like something needs to be minor there because it should sound sad, and then they could do a minor, and I didn't know what they were doing. I didn't even pay attention to what a minor looked like. I mean, it just, I didn't play an instrument. But then I started on the bass because we had a band, and the bass player would always come in late or not come at all to band practice. And so they were like, well, I wish I just had somebody, on the bass play the bass notes. And so then he showed me how to play the bass notes. And then I sort of kind of just filled in for the bass player during practice time, And that's how I learned to play the bass. Eventually, I ended up playing the bass totally for the first band.
Do you feel like you're a better bass player than a guitar player?
No, not now, because I probably spent about 2 years on bass before I went to 2 years on rhythm guitar. And I have probably played more daily on the rhythm guitar than I did on the bass. I can still play a pretty good bass because playing rhythm guitar, you don't forget. You just add to whatever you played on the bass. You just add. And sometimes I'll go out to jams, and sometimes I have some blues friends, and I'll go out to blues jams, and they'll tolerate me playing the bass.
The reason I
teach
said
me
that
some
is
things.
there are some songwriters who, like Buddy Munlock, for instance, who tours with Mike Lindauer out of Houston. And what they do is they've been friends since they were 4 years old. Mike plays bass, and Buddy plays guitar and sings and writes everything. But, I mean, that's an option, too, if you find a good guitarist for you to play bass on a lot of the stuff.
Oh, yeah,
that just
I definitely
adds
would.
more depth to the music. So,
yeah, I definitely would. Well, I'm definitely an all about that bass girl.
Yeah.
You got it.
We understand that.
Oh, wow. Well, I wish you all the luck in the world. I can see the determination. I can hear the determination. And you've got the pipes, man. Let me tell you, you've got a great voice. And it's a different voice. It's not a common voice. So I think you'll do great things.
It's a combination of a lot of interesting voices, is what I hear.
All right. Well, I hope you come back and see us and keep us posted with everything that's going on in your life. And that way we can update our viewers and listeners and have you come back and give us some more. All right.
And be sure also, as we build your page on our In the Music Room site, and we add the things that we add from here, if you've got other YouTube links and things you would like us to post on there, just send them to me. I'd be glad to get them on there for you as well.
Well, I wanted to say one thing. We had discussed as a band and are in favor of this year I'm doing sort of a little solo tour, and I do 4 weeks through Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, Iowa, and then back down on that side, Nebraska. And so next year, though, since the band has been revving to get going and get on the road, we have discussed actually getting on the road and having sort of a gypsy caravan.
Cool.
And so if there's, people who are interested in kind of going on the road with the band and camping at places that we have found and figured out and know, how to camp and maneuver and get through the states that way. This time of year is great to go up north. It stays, 50s, 60s, 70s, and it's just amazing. You can watch in Wyoming, you can watch the ice caps melt every day and then ice back up overnight until they melt the next day again, And
vicious circle.
Yes, and it's nice for caravanning and camping and outdoors things. So
And it's beautiful country, and they like when you can take music to the more remote places. They tend to really appreciate it too.
Right. So music and traveling, if anybody enjoys, that kind of thing, then they can get a hold of us and we can try to put them on a list for next year and see if we can make that happen.
And they get a hold of you how?
They can get a hold of me at www.gypsyrosemusic.com, which is with a J, or Gypsy Rose Music, pretty much anywhere. Or even Jypsy Rose, pretty much anywhere. As long as you spell it with a J, it'll probably turn right back around to me.
And pretty soon she's going to have a CD to sell at those shows. So
yes, pretty soon.
Well, thank you so much for coming.
All right, thank you.
And you are in the music room.